Hello, welcome to our community call. Thank you so much for joining. I really wanted to talk about stress on this week's call because I know we're all at different stages of life, but for me, May is just like crazy as a mom. Especially at my kids' ages right now in school, in sports, it's like everything is happening all at once in the month of May. And I am with practices and games and all of those things happening. We are just like not home near as much. I think we have, I don't know, a few sports falling off this week with like practices and stuff and stuff that I'm like, okay, I can actually be home to cook dinner this week, which I'm so excited about. But that hasn't been the case for most of, oh, can you not hear? Let's see, someone just said, I can't hear. Can you guys hear me? Oh, Henriette, you can't hear. Okay. I think, can everyone else hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Um, so anyways, May is just, it's a lot. And kind of adapting to kids' schedules and still keeping up on my own goals has been a challenge this month. And so I really wanted to talk about that topic because I don't think I'm alone. Raise your hand in the chat if this is just like the craziest month for you of the year. Anyone? Anyone else? So hopefully we can talk about this. And I think a lot of us too, it's like a double-edged sword because this time of year, we're all feeling maybe we're not, maybe you're just in a really good place mentally and you're not feeling any pressure to lose body fat before summer. But I know that is like a common thing I hear with a lot of women this time of year of, okay, I want to lose body fat. Summer's approaching, and it's also like the hardest time of year to lose body fat because stress is really high. And being in a calorie deficit is going to only add more stress. And I think sometimes it can feel like we're doing all the right things. Like, why isn't it working? It worked last time. It's not working this time. My body's working against me. What's going wrong? And just feeling a little bit out of control as far as progress goes and not knowing what to do. So, I wanted to talk about the stress cup theory, and I am a very visual person. And so, like, having a visual to kind of think about, and I was going to draw a picture, but I'm not a good artist. So, you're going to just have to like visualize in your head on this. But thinking of a visual is really helpful for me. So I want you to kind of just like close your eyes for a second and picture a cup. And I want you to imagine your body as a cup, a cup that holds all of your stress and all of your body experiences. And and I want you to remember too that stress does not just mean like you're overwhelmed at work right now, or even just your kids' sports are peaking right now. It also includes intense workouts that you're doing. It includes calorie restriction. It includes poor or inconsistent sleep. So as you're like visualizing this cup, and if as I say these things, like picture the cup filling up, okay? So like, am I doing intense workouts? This would be like high intensity training, maybe zone 4, zone 5 cardio. Am I restricting calories? Am I getting poor or inconsistent sleep right now? Am I skipping meals or over consuming caffeine? Am I drinking alcohol more regularly? Am I experiencing any emotional stress, overstimulation, or even like dehydration? Am I going through work stress? Am I potentially having stress like in terms of financial stress right now? Am I overburdened with my schedule? Do I have any relationship stress happening right now? Like, I would say a lot of us are probably filling that cup up, and all of those things are going to pour into that same cup. We don't have like a stress cup for exercise and a stress cup for emotional issues and a stress cup for schedules. It just all goes together. Our body sees it all the same. So when our cup is overflowing, then a lot of times our body kind of hits pause on fat loss. And I think if I were to just say this simply, people would probably argue with me that like calories in, calories out, right? It matters. And yes, it does matter for sure. But sometimes, like when we're taking in 1,800 calories and stress is low and things are optimally working internally, then we're seeing fat loss. And if we're taking in 1,800 calories and stress is really high, we might not be in a calorie deficit now. And I'm going to go into that a little bit because I think it can be frustrating. It's still calories in versus calories out. We just might need calories to be lower when we're under a lot of stress. And that is not going to be very sustainable for most of us. Like logically, that might work. But when you actually apply it into your real life, that probably won't work. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this and kind of like what's happening under the hood in terms of the stress cup overflowing. Because it's not just mental, like things are happening on a physiological level in our bodies. And I think once we have a better understanding of that, we can kind of reframe our approach to fat loss. So has anyone heard of the HPA axis? All of my coaches have, but anyone like know what the HPA axis is? Well, I'll talk about it here. I doubt anyone wants to define it for us, but basically, simply speaking, when our body senses stress, whether it's physical, like training hard or not eating enough, emotional, overwhelm, conflict, or environmental, like poor sleep, dehydration, even like noise overstimulation. I was at my daughter's dance competition all weekend and I have never been so overstimulated. Like fluorescent lights, loud music, not a lot of airflow with lots of people. So all those things are going to activate our HPA axis, which is our hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and our adrenal glands. So the system works together to manage stress by releasing a hormone that we all have heard. It's kind of a buzzword right now called cortisol. So everybody hears cortisol impacts things, but nobody or very rarely do we really like know what's going on in our bodies. And I think a lot of times we're sold these quick fixes and like here's how to fix your cortisol dysregulation. And it really comes down to more processes and understanding what's going on in your individual body and life, that's going to help you optimize cortisol regulation the most. So cortisol is our body's main stress hormone. And it's not a bad thing, it's essential. It's a really good thing. It gives us energy, it helps regulate our blood pressure, and it also like gets us through hard moments. It helps us activate what we need to manage stressful moments. But the issue with cortisol and our HPA axis kind of dysfunction is that our body can't tell the difference between like running from a bear and just like being in traffic and being late to something. So when our stress cup is constantly full, then our cortisol constantly stays elevated versus just reacting like as needed. We're just always in a state of high cortisol. So when cortisol, when what chronically high cortisol actually does in our body, and I have some notes here so I don't forget anything. So blood sugar swings, cortisol raises our blood sugar to give our body quick energy. But when that happens daily, it can lead to, or all day, it can lead to blood sugar crashes, more cravings, especially for carbs and sugar. I know I feel that when I'm super stressed, I just want fast energy in the form of carbohydrates usually, or a cookie. More mood swings and energy dips. And then over time, that can impact insulin sensitivity, causing insulin resistance and making it harder to lose body fat. Another thing that happens when cortisol is high is it slows down the conversion of thyroid T4 to T3, which are your active thyroid hormones. T3 is your active thyroid hormone that regulates your metabolism. T4 is also going to help with building muscle. So when both of those are downregulated and that conversion is poor, then you're impacting your ability to put on muscle and your ability to lose body fat. because that is going to slow down your metabolic rate. So now you're burning fewer calories at rest. So you might still be eating 1,800 calories, which is the calorie deficit, but now you're burning fewer calories at rest, which means your output isn't as high, and that's going to impact your calorie deficit. And then other things that are impacted, especially if this goes on for a long period of time, is suppression of sex hormones like estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And we've seen that on many clients' labs, right? When stress is high and it's been high for a long period of time, usually that is kind of the cascade effect, right? We see cortisol dysregulation, we see insulin sensitivity being impacted, we see thyroid coming down, kind of thyroid hormone dysregulation, and then we see sex hormones. It's kind of in that pattern usually for most people. And when our sex hormones are lower, that's going to impact our energy, which is then going to impact like how much we're moving in the day. Even if we're training, we might not be training with as much intensity. Even if we are walking the same amount and we're tracking our steps, we might not be like fidgeting or moving around non-step activity throughout the day. And also we might be, I notice like when stress is high, and especially if calories are low, like I just don't feel like doing anything. So we're just doing a lot less, and we might not notice it because we're tracking our training and we're tracking our steps. Everything else outside of that was probably down, which is going to impact our calorie output. And also sex hormones, these sex hormones are really important for muscle maintenance, for mood and motivation, for menstrual cycle regulation. So that's why some women in really high stress states will lose their period or experience like really big PMS shifts. So that's something to kind of factor in as well. Like, are you noticing any of these things personally? When you're in fight or flight, your body shuts down anything that's not essential for survival, starting with digestion. So that means bloating, constipation or irregularity, poor nutrient absorption. So you might be eating the same foods, but now your body's not absorbing them in the same way. Your body might not be digesting food in the same way as well. So those are things that I often see, like when women are overtraining and under eating and stress is high, it's really common for them to complain about bloating and like stomach pain and kind of digestive things happening that are not normal for them. Elevated cortisol is also going to interfere with melatonin because melatonin is inverse to cortisol. So if your cortisol is dysregulated, your melatonin is going to be impacted. And melatonin is our sleep hormone. So now you're wired at night, but exhausted in the morning, sleeping lightly or waking multiple times throughout the night, or even waking up. Like this is a really common one with elevated cortisol, is like waking up at like 3 a.m. with your mind racing and not being able to go back to sleep, missing out on that deep restorative sleep. And as sleep gets lower, hopefully, we talk about this a lot in Hungry Fitness. Poor sleep is going to further increase ghrelin, which is our hunger hormone, and decrease leptin, which tells our body that we're full. So now we are tired and we're hungry and our sex hormones are working against us and our thyroid is not working in our favor. All of those things are going to really stall fat loss. And I think a lot of times we want to just, all right, well, I just got to work harder, right? I got to work out harder. I need to add more volume. I need to just cut my calories even more. And that puts us in a negative loop because then our stress system is just constantly turned on. And then on the other side, your body is doing what it can to try to protect you, slowing recovery, kind of putting fat loss on hold, and just essentially just trying to keep you surviving. Does anyone have anything to add to that as far like coach wise, or even anyone in the group, like if you've experienced that yourself or are experiencing it right now?
I'm just thinking that one way could be like, let's try to lower calories to see if that is going to help. But at the same time, if you are at that level of stress, so that your body is giving you all of these signs, is that really the right thing to do? Is it the time for a deficit or maybe not? So I think just like if you try to go lower on calories, definitely do so, see how it works, but have
Yeah.
this kind of in the back of your mind also that maybe I need to rethink if this is the right time to do this, or at least if I'm lowering calories and then adding more stress in that way, is there anywhere else in life where I can diminish stress? So I think look at it from a very objective lens
Yeah.
is definitely going to be needed no matter what you choose to do, I'm thinking.
Yeah, so I would, with that in mind, like, how do you know, right? How do you know? Is
Yeah.
it time to just lower calories, increase maybe your steps, add in a zone two cardio session, or is it like, ooh, maybe we need to hit pause. My cup is just overflowing right now, and I need to shift my expectations and my priorities. So I want you guys to just kind of like think in your head, or you can do the little like raise your hand thing on the chat or comment if this applies to you. Um, this little quick like self check. So you've had strong cravings or hunger. Think about like the last 2 weeks with this in mind. You've had strong cravings or hunger, especially at night. You feel wired but tired, and you have trouble staying or falling asleep at night, falling or staying asleep at night. You're training but not recovering like usual. You're more sore. And also, like, motivation is lower going into your training sessions. You feel tired throughout the day. You feel like you're doing all the right things, but not seeing results. So, anyone relate to that? I think a lot of us probably do. And I think one thing that, since I am such a visual person, when I think about this cup theory, and I think as women and just humans, it's so easy to compare, to be like, gosh, I don't even feel like I have that much on my plate right now. My friend is doing way more than me and she's seeing progress, and like, how is she able to do it and I'm not? Like, what am I doing wrong? And I think that it's important to remember that we don't all have the same sized cup. I know that's like silly to have this like object lesson with cups, but it helps me visually to remember that like my cup is not the same size as Autumn's or Henrietta or Griffin's. Um, or any of yours. We don't know how big each other's cups are or what's in each other's cups really. Like, we really just don't know. And some people have a really high tolerance to stress. They bounce back really quickly, they recover fast, they can train with more intensity. And others have smaller cups that fill up much faster. And that's based on a lot of different factors. Um, some things like hormonal history, like coming off of a birth control, coming off of pregnancy, coming off of breastfeeding, or doing, or being in any of those states, and also going through perimenopause. Those are all going to be just make a huge impact. Our hormone history and our hormone status are going to have a huge impact on the size of our cup. A history of under eating and overtraining, that's going to impact how resilient we are to stress. Poor sleep. I know like my resilience to stress is much lower when I'm not sleeping well. Burnout. Maybe you're working a job that you hate and it's exhausting, or you just like can't catch a break when it comes to parenting this stage of life that you're in. Trauma is going to have a huge impact on the size of your cup. Current, past, all of it. Autoimmune conditions, things like parenting, caregiving, emotional load, high pressure careers. And none of these things are a weakness. They are just all a part of who we are. And also, some of those things we can't change, right? But some of those things we can. And so it's like, instead of dwelling on the things that we are not able to change and comparing those things, creating strategies to reflect our current capacity is going to serve us much better. And also, like, thinking about how over time we can potentially build a bigger cup for ourselves. So, how can we do that? Some ways that I found to be really helpful for myself and for clients are practicing nervous system regulation. This is something that Coach Jess has talked a lot about: deep breathing, cold exposure, slow walks without our cell phones or without stimulation, and just like practicing being in our body, connecting within, and just regulating our nervous system. And then also building muscle. Building muscle is going to be huge for our overall ability to handle stress. And that can be done. I mean, there's going to be some intensity when it comes to building muscle, but that can also be done in there can be a way to do like high intensity lifting and lower intensity lifting. And obviously we're pushing our bodies in both way, but like having more rest within your training can be a helpful way to do that. And still like focus on building muscle, but not also taxing your nervous system to the max. Prioritizing sleep. That's pretty low hanging fruit. Maybe not for those of us with like teenagers. But that's a big one that's going to help with giving you a bigger cup. Fueling your body consistently and supporting blood sugar. So eating well-rounded meals and not skipping meals or fasting. That's going to, and eating like enough calories to support your body so it can function well. And then also building emotional capacity through boundaries, through mindset work, like doing what you can to develop more of a growth mindset, and through things like maybe journaling and reflection and gratitude. All of those things are going to help increase the size of our cup. Maybe not in a day or a week or a month, but like as you focus on those things year after year, you're going to notice a huge impact. And whatever we can do to increase our resilience to stress is only going to help us, even if it's like a little bit at a time. Um, so I wanted to talk through some things that I put in this week's email are how to empty your cup without losing momentum. So we still want to lose body fat. How are we going to do this in the best way? And what do we need to really like prioritize and focus on when stress is high? So prioritizing recovery. Potentially, like maybe this is a really high stress week for you. I know last week and this week for me are very high stress. I have multiple dance competitions, games for my kids. I just have limited time. And so this is not the week for me to like increase my training volume or even really be on the high end for me for training volume. So kind of auditing like your week and assessing how your stress load is and how your training can serve you. So maybe taking a deload week or swapping a couple of your more intense sessions, whether that's cardio or strength, for things that are going to be more lower intensity. So like maybe it's swapping your run for a walk. Maybe it's swapping high your hit workout for just like a lifting session that maybe we're not going to 90 and 100% on our lifts. Maybe we're sticking more to like 60, 70% and having that be more of a deload week. Eating enough and eating consistently. So skipping meals is going to spike our cortisol and also potentially cause blood sugar swings throughout the day, which is going to impact our energy and our hunger. So building your meals with protein, carbs, fiber, and healthy fats to keep things stable and to keep you satiated and satisfied throughout the day. Protecting your sleep, maybe just like putting that on the calendar when you need to go to bed. Not skimping on sleep like it doesn't matter. Getting 7 to 9 hours, that's going to help support fat loss hormones like leptin and ghrelin and also growth hormone. So getting 7 to 9 hours, but also getting those 7 to 9 hours like before 11 p.m. going to bed, ideally 10 in that 10 o'clock window. If you're blessed and can go to bed earlier, like take advantage because that's where that growth hormone is going to be most prevalent. I guess that's where that happens. It's that earlier sleep window. So if you're not going to sleep till after midnight, you're kind of missing that window. Adding in parasympathetic habits. I think with like everything being so fast paced and our phones, it's like so easy to numb nowadays. And taking some time, and this is like speaking to myself too, it's so easy to do this with if I'm not being intentional, I'm just distracted all day long. So taking 10 to 20 minutes and maybe journaling, walking without your phone. I love that Marita does 1 hour like digital detox per day where she just doesn't have her phone for an hour. Your mind can just open up when you do that. You like literally can calm your nervous system during that time. And even if it's just 20 minutes of like 10 minutes, maybe you don't have 20 minutes, maybe it's 10 minutes. Yeah, I know. And maybe it's even as simple as like putting like do not disturb on your phone and you have, maybe your husband can contact you, but like you're taking the hour to just not get on social media, not think about work, not think about just getting random alerts pinging you that are causing you to just be distracted and just allow yourself to be present. Um, and I think we have a second if everyone wants to do this. We are going to just do like a quick little snack of activating our parasympathetic. So close your eyes. We're going to do just like a few breaths together. I want you to close your eyes and maybe you can put your hands on your belly or on your chest and just come into your body and inhale for 4 count, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Nice slow exhale. 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale for 4, 3. Hold for 4. Exhale for 6. Inhale for 4. Inhale through your nose. Hold for 4. And on this next exhale, exhale out of your mouth and just really release. Exhale for 6. And take 2 more. Inhale for 4. Hold for 4. Exhale for 6. Inhale for 4. Hold for 4. Exhale for 6. And I want you to just let your body know that it's safe. I think that even just taking, I mean, that was probably 30 seconds, 40 seconds, taking a minute when you feel like your nervous system is just overloaded and just like putting your hands on your body and taking a few breaths can do so much. I think it can feel so overwhelming to think like, oh, I need to meditate and I need to have an hour walk, of silence, or I need to journal. And there's so many different options and tools. And it's just a matter of like, what does my body need? And can I do that? Maybe optimal is like you go to a 60-minute yoga class. Maybe like minimal is like, I'm going to take a 60 seconds to breathe every afternoon. And just kind of like shift. I think too, like even when you're transitioning, like, okay, I'm going from like my morning cleanup into work mode. Okay, I'm going to just take a minute to breathe. I'm going from work to like kids and I'm so distracted and I don't want to carry all of my work stress into my connection with my kids. So I'm just going to take 60 seconds. I'm just going to breathe and like, what's my intention on this part of my day? I think sometimes transitions can be overwhelming. And so like giving yourself just a second to just shift gears and think about what's my intention in this next part of my day. And Andrew Huberman, I think is who it was. He talks about there being like 3 parts of the day. And I know we're almost over, so I'll wrap this up. But like the first 8 hours of the day, the second and the third. And I think too, like thinking of your day in 3 parts and kind of like having a focus for each part. And if fat loss is a goal, like in that first part of your day, like making a plan for your food intake, making a plan for your fitness, making a plan for your nervous system, and like maybe for stress, like what are the stressful things in your day? Okay, how can you make those easier on yourself? Can you automate some of them? Can you eliminate any of them and like see like, do I need to do all of those today? Like what are the top 3 important ones? Um, and then another thing too, kind of going through like the options on how to empty your cup without losing momentum. So prioritizing recovery, eating enough and eating consistently, protecting your sleep, adding in parasympathetic habits, journaling, breathing, walking without your phone, even just like sometimes like household chores, if I can do them distracted or I can just do them like being present in my body when I'm washing the dishes and try to like slow down a little bit. Even just being more present, but doing all the same things can be helpful, like tuning into your breath as you're doing something. And then number five, trying a short maintenance phase. Maybe this week it's a really high stress week. Like instead of just adding more stress by cutting calories and increasing your training, maybe you increase your food slightly and take some of those workouts down in intensity and you focus on sleep and strength and giving yourself a break to lower cortisol. And next week, move back into a deficit and keep moving the needle in the direction that you want to go. It's okay to take a maintenance break if you need to, and that might prolong your progress. But if your body is kind of working against you anyways, then you might as well just give it a little bit more fuel and take some stress off. Um, I think the biggest, like one of the biggest shifts that we can make instead of asking, like, what else do I need to cut or push harder on, instead is like, how can I build a bigger cup for myself? Um, how can I, see that long-term change without burning myself out? And I think by increasing our resilience to stress, that's going to be really helpful. And that's how fat loss is going to become sustainable for you because it can be possible in the mix. But if we are not setting ourselves up to be as resilient as possible, it's going to be a lot harder. So that's kind of everything. If you guys have any questions on this topic, always ask. And I think one of the best things you can do for seeing sustainable fat loss is working one-on-one with a coach. Like if you're working with a coach, then your coach is able to really like zoom out on everything you have going on and give you feedback in terms of like where to maybe lower some stress and like where to push down harder and what matters most for you individually, because that's going to be different person to person. And just give yourself a really good sounding board and someone in your corner to help you see progress in a way that is sustainable for you. So, for those of you that don't know, we are doing our one-on-one coaching sale for Mother's Day right now, and that's 10% off all coaching packages. Um, so if you guys want to take part in that, actually, let's see, what is the code? Does anyone have it? We have a code for all of you, and it is, let me look. Mother's Day new client. So I will put that link here also. And if you lose the link, the discount code is just Mother's Day new client. And if you're a continuing client, we have a different one for you. So talk to your coach about that. But if anyone has any questions, ask away, and hopefully this helped a little bit for this chaotic month. I hope you all have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for joining.